Good morning. Welcome into My Sweet Home Living. My name is Tracey Campbell. Excited to have you here today. If you are crafting along with me today, come on in and let's get started. I'm going to be showing you how to recreate one of my most asked about crafts. Do you know what they are? Hopefully you know if you've been waiting. I know several of you, well, many of you have been waiting for today. You may already have your supplies handy and ready. We're crafting with some dish sponges today. Actually, these are called glass puffs. If you wanted to search these online and didn't know what to call them, glass puffs. I never knew they were called that. You will come on in. I am going to make sure that we are streaming over into the one and only Craft Round the Clock today, because we have lots of friends waiting for us over there. That is a place where you can watch live crafting Monday through Friday, and even on the weekends occasionally. Live crafting Monday through Friday, early morning until late at night, all day long. We would love to have you over there. If you don't know about us, come look for us, come search us out. And we would love to welcome you to the family over there. Good morning, Miss Judy. Good morning, Sherry and Terry and Jackie. Well, we are in the kitchen, but we're not going to do any actual baking today. But I did need a really hard surface and a big surface for our project today. So if you are crafting along with me today, make sure you have all of your materials out and ready. I'll give you a quick rundown of what we will be using today. We're going to be using some of these glass puff sponges. Didn't know they were called that, did you all? We're going to be using some Model Magic from Crayola. You can also use a regular, like an air dry clay. No, air dry foam clay. Not air dry clay, but air dry foam clay. There is a big difference there. And let's see, you will need, let me grab this over here so you can see, some distress ink or something similar. You may not want to get the same brand, or if you have something else that's similar that may work. This is distress ink and it's in the color Vintage Photo. It gives us, it's going to give us that little warm baked appearance. You will also need some coffee grunge, and probably even some coffee podge today. And some little hand pie cutouts. You could do these freehand if you want. I'm choosing to use some of these because I bought these a couple of years ago. And I love making them with these because the shapes are just so cute. In fact, I have some. Let me grab them, and hopefully my microphone cord will reach. I grab them right back here very carefully. I like to style these little things, these little faux hand pies, in like a little faux cake. This is a little mini cake pan, and I bought it at the Target dollar spot a long time ago. It has, even, it's for Easter, it has a little bunny on it, but I always turn it this way when it's not spring or Easter, and then you can't see the bunny. So, and then I still get to display them in that. But aren't those cute? And you can put them, you can tuck them in little wooden dough bowls, little tiered trays, but they are so cute. They dry and they are soft to the touch, but they're firm in the sense that they're not going to crack and break. I've had these for over a year. This is what they look like. In that time span, they do hold up very well, okay? If you just follow a few simple tips, you'll be able to create some just like these. Good morning, Miss Jane. Good morning, Esmeralda. How are you, friend? But I'm telling you, these are just the cutest. And I get asked about these all the time. I did a video last year on these, but the video was a hot mess disaster. And so I've been telling you, okay, we're going to redo those because I know you all are wanting to see how to make them, but I just can't bear to reshare that video. It was so bad. It was so bad. Good morning, Miss Patricia. So I'm taking, I purchased these in the Model Magic in the bags. Usually I can get this in a big tub at my local Walmart. You want the white color. And a lot of times, I did not think to tell you all this, but I think we'll be okay. A lot of times I will color my Model Magic a little bit. I'll put a little bit of a pale, like really pale, almost like an off-white, yellow or antique white craft paint in my Model Magic and just kind of get it a little bit of like a vanilla color or like a buttery vanilla color. And sometimes that makes a difference, sometimes it doesn't. We're not going to do that today, so we will see how that how this turns out. That we find. We are going to get the coloration that we need by using Coffee Grunge and the Coffee Podge. So you all come on in. The corn I waxed the other day, can we use a black candle instead of beeswax? You probably can. You probably can, yeah. Just give it a try. It won't hurt to try, right? Good morning, Danielle. I'm taking this and I'm conditioning it, which means I'm just kind of spinning it, just moving it a little bit, because this is what we're going to use for our first little hand pie. Now, we're going to let that sit for just a second. And these little glass puff sponges that I was telling you about, these are going to be the faux apples that we are going to stuff inside of the little hand pies. So it has to be a yellow sponge, by the way, okay? I know they're hard to find. I found this at my local Dollar General. If you find a different color, they won't look like apples. Okay? So I just take it out. I pull it out of that. You can leave it in there. It might be easier to cut that way. But you can see this, how this sponge is shaped. It's in a shape just like this. I'm going to just take it and I'm going to fold it. And then I'm just going to cut like little squares, like little cubes, just like diced apples. Good morning, Miss Pamela. Thank you for sprinkling us out. I know, Cynthia, you hear him, right? I've got a couple of my windows open and he's hearing me in here. He's like, come let me out. We showed Tom yesterday, and did you all see my growling rooster? I was telling you all about how he makes this weird noise, and it's kind of like a growling noise. I don't know, purring noise. I don't know which one to call it. But many of you chimed in and said you've had chickens for a long time and you've never had a chicken make that noise. So he's something, all right. Okay, so I'm just cutting across this so these little diced cubes are falling down into a bowl of Coffee Grunge. All right. Quick and easy right there. This is going to turn these little yellow pieces of sponge into something that looks like diced apples. And that's what we're going to fill our little hand pies with, okay? So I'm just going to cut those. I can get about two cuts on each side, and it gives you quite a bit of apples. And then you can even go back in and cut some more, but I cut the little flanges off, whatever you want to call it. But put those in some Coffee Grunge. Where's my other ones? Let's do one more. And I'm going to, for the sake of it, I think I'll just leave it on here this time. We'll see how it works. It'll probably work just the same. Whatever easiest for you. Woohoo. They're going to go flying. If he does that the whole time, I will have to go shut my windows. I forget that they're open until I start hearing him. And maybe he'll calm down here. Maybe he'll calm down here a little bit. Your dog would get after your chickens. Pongo's pretty good, of course, with the chickens. Now, he will act all big and tough if they get on the porch and he sees them on the porch. But he's an inside dog. But if we go outside, I just have to be on alert. But he follows commands really well. And he's not been a problem with them. But now he is a herding dog. Like he's a border collie, so he was bred to herd cattle and sheep and things like that. So any kind of critter or object that moves, he thinks he's supposed to run after and round up, right? So we haven't had to worry about that, but that is in his nature. So usually whenever he goes after them, it's not to hurt them, it's just to chase moving object. Okay, so I'm wiping my counter off here because I did splash some Coffee Grunge everywhere. And let's get this computer off the counter because we don't want to have an accident. spilled on that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take one of these gloves. You don't have to do this, but, or you could take a, you know what, let's just take a, well, I'm not going to walk over there. I'm afraid I'll knock my camera over. We got a little bit different setup today. Good morning, Patricia. Did you have trouble finding us? Good morning, Elaine. Hey, Amy. You love hearing him? He's going to keep going. I'm just going to take it, I'm just going to swish it around. And you'll see that these are going to turn into like little diced apples. I'm telling you, I warmed this coffee grunge up this morning and it smells so good. Good morning, Wanda. How are you? All right, so let me grab something to put these on after I get them out, because I'm going to squeeze them. I'm going to squeeze them dry. Got to get a bowl out of the dishwasher. Good morning, Miss Sheila. How are you? All right. So this is what they look like when they're in the coffee grunge, okay? I'm just letting them soak up that goodness. And if they're not dark enough, you may want to add some extra instant coffee to the mixture to get it darkened. A little darker. You're having coffee while watching. Hi, good morning to you, Miss Terry. Okay. I'm going to take and I'm just going to squeeze what I can out of this handful. Now, these did not soak up as much as I thought they would, so we might have to darken that a little bit. But these still do look like apples. They're just not quite as cinnamon and spiced. I did not bring in my instant coffee in here, or I would sprinkle them with a little bit of instant coffee. I would darken my solution. This was some of my fabric staining solution, so it's probably not quite as dark as my regular coffee grunge, but this is more the color that I would probably want. But you don't want all that excess liquid, so darken your liquid, okay? Do as I say, not as I'm doing. Darken your liquid so that your apples get that good cinnamony color. Okay, my instant coffee is in my craft room. I would have to walk back there and get it. Let me see. Yeah, let me go do that real quick because I really do want these to turn out cute. So let me go grab that real quick. There we go. There we go. Trying to do this with one hand. There we go. Sorry about that. I'm going to pour in some more instant coffee to darken this. And I also forgot, I did not add cinnamon to this mixture because usually when I stain my fabric, I don't add the cinnamon because it will kind of flake off over time on the fabric. Off of the fabric rather. So I'm just going to sprinkle in some cinnamon here too. There we go. And whatever I have left over from this mixture, I'm just going to put it in a glass jar and I'll use it for my other craft projects. So let's give this a stir. These are going to smell so good. It's going to smell just like an apple pie almost. Oh yeah, that really has helped already. So we'll see. And if you get it too dark, just slowly add a little bit of water until you get it as light as you want it. Good morning, Miss Beth. How are you? I hope your daddy is doing well. Been keeping him in my prayers. Okay, now look at the difference there. They're like chunks of chocolate now, but we're going to squeeze. And that gives you your baked apple look. Yeah, that worked. That worked. So we'll do that. We'll squeeze them out. So make them look like chunks of chocolate when they're in your coffee. Woohoo! When they're in your coffee grunge. I keep wanting to grab that Model Magic. I keep thinking that's my paper towel there, and it's not. Give them a squeeze to get all the extra out. Okay, and put them over here in your bowl. And We're not going for quantity today. I just want to show you the process so that you know how to create these, and then you can create as many as you want. So there we go. Now, let's set this off to the side. I will put that extra coffee grounds in a jar because it's liquid gold. Love using that. Okay, we sprinkled a little bit on our Model Magic, but that's okay. So that's what they look like after you squeeze them out. That's what they look like. Okay, that's what we're looking for. Okay, I have already conditioned this Model Magic. I'm going to make sure my cord is going to stretch. I don't want to knock you all over. I do want to dry this counter off because I'm getting ready to roll this Model Magic out just as if it were real dough. Okay. Okay. Now, I'm going to get it in somewhat of a uniform shape, whether that's a circle, a square, a rectangle, whatever, before I start rolling it, and it seems to make it go a little bit easier. Good morning, Annette. Good morning, Miss Kim. So happy y'all are on here today. Okay, we have crafting going on all day, every day, for sure Monday through Friday, and most of the time on Saturdays as well, in the Craft on the Clock group. So if you all like watching live videos or even replays of lives, then head over to the Craft on the Clock group. We've got some amazing creators over there on our creative team. I'm just going to take a rolling pin and I'm going to roll it out. Now, here's the key here. You want to make sure that it's rolled out really thin, okay? So take a little bit of extra time to make sure that they're rolled out really thin. Good morning, Miss Cynthia, Melinda. How are you all? Okay. Now, these little hand pie cutters, if you did not see my post on where to get these, you can grab these on Amazon. There's a set of just everyday shapes. There's this little shape, the circle shape, and there's a rectangular shape. The rectangular shape is no good. It's no good. It leaves the crust really thin on the side and it wants to break. So I tried it several times, never could get it to work. So I think I pitched it because I don't even have it with my collection. I think they have a Christmas set. They have a fall set. How cute are these? I've never even used these. I'm going to try a couple of these today and see how they turn out. But of course, you know, the everyday shapes are something that you can keep out all year long. So it's up to you if you want to make some seasonal ones or just some for every day. And this will take a little bit to get it rolled out as thin as you need it. But thin, thin, thin is the key. And this does not want to roll out like regular dough. You got to use a little bit of elbow grease. Thank you, Darlia, for sprinkling us out. I so appreciate you. And the good thing about this is if you do it once and it doesn't work, guess what? You can just throw it back together just like Play-Doh and then re-roll it, okay? So there's really, it's very forgiving in that sense, okay? That might be thin enough. I'm going to give it one more roll just for good measure here. And I'll kind of give you a peek at the thickness that we're talking about. If you have any air bubbles in it, you do want to make sure that you get the air bubbles out. I've got a little air bubble right there. Okay, let me grab you can grab a toothpick or a skewer stick or anything like that, because you probably need it to poke out these little holes. We're going to go with this little, just this classic hand pie shape. Oh, thank you. Hey, Marjorie. Okay. So these little hand pies, they open and close like so. This is your cutting side, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that and I'm just going to press it down into the Model Magic, and I'm going to, just like a cookie cutter, okay? Now, I won't know if this is thin enough. I have not made these since last year, so I thought about making a few test runs last night, but I thought, no, I'm going to walk through this with you all because I want you to see what works and what doesn't work. Because to me, I think that's more of a learning experience and getting to, once you get to doing this on your own, sometimes it can be frustrating. Be like, well, it didn't turn out like hers. What did she do different? What am I doing wrong? So it's kind of good to kind of walk through those kind of things as we go. And I thought, I'm just going to hold off. I'm just going to do it all at one time with you all and show you exactly how I do it. Okay, now let's see here. I'm going to snip this off right here. Now, if you're going to cut out more shapes, of course, you can still keep that there on the counter and cut out another set. Okay, you do want to make sure that this cuts all the way down to the surface, because otherwise you're not going to get those little diamond shapes, okay? So the diamond shapes can sometimes get stuck in there. Just take your little skewer stick or toothpick and just pick them right out, okay? And put that with your, where'd that go? Put that with your dough to save for later. And same with what's on the counter here. Do you all see what's on the counter? Good morning, Karen and Betty. Let me kind of tilt that down for you so you can see here. And let's go this way so you can kind of see it down there on the corner of your screen. All right, so take your little skewer stick and just poke that little diamond shaped out. Now, if it wants to be contrary, like mine is, of course, and it wants to touch, gosh, my hands are shaky this morning. If it wants to touch the sides, you may have to use a little pair of scissors or like an X-Acto, like a craft knife or something like that, which is, I do have a little hand craft knife, and just clean up those little shapes, those little cutout shapes. The key is to try to get it out without it retouching itself, if you want to know what I mean. So like we've got this little diamond shape. If I can just pick it straight up without it touching the other sides of the dough, it comes right out. So almost a little pair of tweezers. A little pair of tweezers might work the best. Now this one, this is the kind of the little diamond shape that I messed up a little bit. So I'm just going to fix it back. Now, this time I'm just going to peel this up. Peel it up the best that I can. Where's my little crimper here? Now this time we're going to be using the inside. This is what we use for the cutting the shapes out. Now we're going to flip it over and we're going to use this side to fill and crimp the edges, okay? So I'm going to carefully peel these little shapes up that we used, or that we cut out a second ago, and I'm going to lay them right inside. Well, I'm going to stretch it just a little bit because it's almost a little bit small. This Model Magic's very forgiving. Just stretch it just a little bit. Just like when you get that shirt out of the dryer and you just need to give it a little stretch to get a little extra room. That's what I'm doing with that. Okay, so let's peel this one up. And let's just set it on here and let's get a look for what this one's going to do. This one needs to be stretched a little bit too. You do want to make sure that they are large enough. Let me show you up close. That the pieces are large enough to stretch over all the way to the center. Like right here, I'm a little bit short. You can see a little bit of that edge. So I might stretch that one a little bit more. And that will help give you a sealed and finished edge on these little hand pies. Well, now my top is just kind of got to fuss with it a little bit, but once you get it, you're good to go. Kind of like pizza dough. If you want it a little bit bigger to fit your pan, just use your fingers and kind of just very gently press and just ever so slightly pull. to make it large enough to fit. So that's what we have right there, okay? Now, these little faux apple pieces that we just grunged. I don't know if y'all can see this, but you can even see the little specks of cinnamon that are on these. The lighting is not real great right here, but these look like actual diced apples. And so I'm just gonna take some and I'm gonna fill them. Now, I should have mentioned, I did not think, see, here's hindsight 2020. So you may wanna make sure that your your faux apples are diced large enough so that they don't fall through the holes, the little cutout shapes on your pie. If they do, it's not a big deal. It's really not. And it really doesn't even take that many of these to fill. But you want to make sure you're going to fill one side. You're going to want to make sure that you clear the edgeways, sort of like clear the runways, where these little edges are going to touch. When we fold this up in a moment, you want to make sure that you give it enough space so that it can make contact with the dough on the other side. Okay, so here we go. Let's give this a try and let's see how it turns out. If it doesn't turn out, we can just take it apart and restart. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to close it up. Okay, close it up, and I'm going to crunch it down. Now, when you see, oh, I'm squeezing some coffee grounds out right there. Ideally you might want to dry these a little bit before you put them in, but I'm just crimping them down. You're going to have to give it a good squeeze. So if you want to just put it on your counter and just give it some good pressure. Am I freezing up? Oh no, I'm good signal wise on my end of showing that we're okay. May go out and come back in. I don't know. Making you hungry? All right, so I'm just going to press my arm and a little bit of my body weight down on it to make sure that it's really crimped down good, okay? Now, here's the thing. If your dough is too thick, it's going to really be hard to smash and get that really cute crimped edge. Let me show you. I thought I had one of these out already. So like this one right here, you want that little fancy little fluted edge around it, okay? And if your dough is too thick, it's not gonna give you that pretty edge. So what I've done here, you can see I've got quite a bit of excess that's coming out. So I don't remember if this is what I want to do or not, but we're going to go with it. I'm going to take that excess and I'm just going to pull that off while I have it closed, okay? And I think that will give me that nice clean edge look, okay? We'll see how it goes. Good morning, Miss Stephanie. How are you, friend? And then let's pull it apart carefully. Okay, now where it got a little wet right there, it wanted to rip a little bit. So just take your finger and just press it back down and you're good to go. If any of your edges look a little rough, just take your finger and just tap it up against the edge and it will clean it up. It sounds crazy, but while that Model Magic is still workable, it's the perfect time to kind of clean up the edges. So that's what we have right there, okay? Now, slowly and carefully, you want to peel this out without damaging your little fluted edge. Now, we want it to look like a handmade little pie. So once you start pulling it out, it's going to kind of get a little misshapen a little bit. Don't fret, okay? Don't fret. That's all in the nature of the look, the character that we want this to have. So just slowly, and I got it. Okay, hang on. Let me show you something. Right there, I have a little boo-boo. See right there. My camera's backwards, so for me, I've got to go the opposite direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this dough, or not dough, Model Magic right here, and I'm going to press it right there on that spot. Okay, let me show you how to fix this little boo-boo before we take it out of here. I'm going to put it on there, and then I'm going to reclamp it. Okay? That's all I'm going to do, and it should work. Good morning, Janice from Tennessee. Good morning, Yvonne. And then we'll put it together, crimp it one more time. And that fixed our problem, okay? I do have a little bit of a line right there. So dip your finger in some water. I'm just gonna dip my finger in some coffee grunge because that's what I have handy. And I'm just gonna kind of take my finger and I'm gonna smooth it until the line, I'm just gonna rub on that little area until the line disappears, okay? And that's all I've done. Now, because I'm going to use coffee grunge on this in a little bit anyway to start adding the coloring. So that just helped solve our problem right there. All right, now let's slowly try to peel this off again. Just being careful to watch. If you have little areas that are thin, they might rip like that. And if so, you'll know that your dough needs to be just a tiny bit thicker next time. But for the most part, let me show you that's how thin. That is how thin I rolled that dough out. Can you tell right there? That's pretty thin. So you might just want to just make it a little bit thicker next time. But thin is the key word. You do want it thin. There's just a fine line of where it's could be too thin. Now, this is the tricky part, trying to get it to release here. If you want to, you can coat these with a little bit of like cornstarch, but I don't know how cornstarch would react to the coloring that we're, the coffee grunge and stuff that we're going to put on here. I've never tried that. So just be warned. I'm not telling you that I've done that before. I'm just really gentle and patient, and it will let loose. It will let loose if you're careful. You could maybe try baby powder as well. There we go. I'm just grabbing this a little bit gently. Now that's still a little bit wet because I added the moisture to it over there. Okay, here we go. See, it's pulling off. I'm just being careful as I go. And release. There we go. Good morning. Good morning. No, you do not want to use cooking spray. We pulled it out just fine. You just, like I said, you have to be patient. And you're going to have these irregularities in the shape of it, and that's okay. So like right here, this is where it's kind of where it was closed, and I couldn't, like from this area to this, that little hinges there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just take and trim some of that a little bit so that it looks like the rest of the little crust. There we go. And you can take your finger and make little divots and make it look even more like a real shaped hand pie. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a sheet of like parchment paper and lay these out as I make them, okay? You do not want to let these touch each other until they have completely dried, which will take a few days, okay, to completely dry. Especially if you go to adding the coffee grunge for the coloring and all of that. Lay them out one by one on your parchment paper. For the filler, the faux apples, if you missed the beginning, it's at the very beginning of the video, we used one of these glass puff sponges, okay? I just cut these off, I cut the little yellow pieces off, made some diced pieces, and then dipped them in my coffee grunge and pulled them out and squeezed out all of the excess, okay? The coffee grunge is the cinnamon instant coffee and vanilla, all right? Squeeze them out, and those give you your diced apple filling, okay? So that's what you're going to do with all of those. Now let me set that one over here to the side. Let those dry, okay? Let them dry. You can kind of go ahead and start adding some of your coffee grunge and things like that, but when you let them dry, we're gonna test both theories here. We're gonna try applying the coffee grunge to a wet one and a dry one of where the Model Magic hasn't dried. This one is one that I created last year, and I left the back blank so that we could test this theory on another show, and here we are today. So here is, let me show you the circle one, the little circle hand pies. That is this shape right here, okay? It has lots of little diamond cutouts. So when you use this cutter, you'll definitely want to use your little skewer stick or toothpick or whatever, but it gives you a really cute little edging. It is a little bit hard to get that edging out, but when it's irregular, it makes it look authentic, okay? You usually paint yours and add cinnamon to the sponges, but okay, use the grunge. Yeah, it dries really easy. You don't have to worry about the paint getting on your hands, or and if the grunge from the apples mix in with your faux dough, it still just adds to the color that you're going for. Thank you, Miss Diane. How are you? Okay, so let me show you kind of how we're going to colorize these. Because it's really easy, and all you're going to need, let's pull this coffee grunge back out that we were using a second ago. I should have grabbed a little sponge brush, but I did not. But since I've kind of got this sponge brush here, let's just test this out. Actually, I'm going to use this right here. This is one leftover piece of that sponge. I'm just going to take it and I'm going to dip it down in my coffee grunge. The cutters are on Amazon. You'll get them much faster on Amazon, you guys. Much faster. That's where the little hand pies cutters are from. And they come in sets of 3. They have even some holiday shapes too. I'm just going to take my coffee grunge and I'm just going to go right over that dough. Now it's going to look really pale. It's not going to have a lot of color at first. And that's okay, because it's going to take several applications to get the color that you want. Now, you will get a little bit of that settles on in those little crimped edges, and that's okay, because that's going to add to the effect that you want. We like dark areas, light areas. It gives you that shading look, just as if it were if we were actually baking it. Okay. I'm just applying a little bit of heat to this. And like I said, it will take several applications and then a little bit of extra to get it where you want it. Let me dry a little bit around the edges there. And if you want to darken a little bit of your coffee grunge to get it a little bit darker faster on this, then you can do that as well. Let me think about this real quick. I know that, let me see. Here's where this little ink pad comes in that I was telling you about. I love using these little ink pads because these are not a permanent ink. These are a water soluble ink. Okay. Now I showed you a picture of the walnut, or not walnut. This one's called Vintage Photo. It gives you that orangey baked look. And I like to use this a lot on my faux pie crust. Oh, goodness. Hold on here. Let me grab my faux pie crust and show you. Let's see. I've got one here and one here. These are 2 different kinds of faux pie crust. But I like to use that around the edges of this. So do you see where there are darker areas? Or just like it would if it were baking in the oven, you get those tall spots, the little peaks areas are where you're going to concentrate your darker color on. And that's what I've used on this little faux apple pie. And then the same with this one. Now this was a different product that I used for the crust. This is called Mold-A-Wood, but I still did the same thing, but this product is already dark to begin with. And so I didn't have to apply as much, and it's not quite as noticeable, but I love using that because it's just a soft color. It's not real harsh. And if you get it too dark, all you got to do is add just a touch of a damp towel and it will smooth out the color. Okay. So I'm just going to load like a little makeup brush with that. Now, this is obviously going to need a little bit more darkening, and it's still a little bit damp and down here in the corners. I'm okay with that. I'm going to take this. Let me show you what we're doing here. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to rub over some of the tall areas. Do you see what's happening right there? the tall areas on that little pie. I don't want the whole thing the same color, because if you do, then it doesn't appear to be real. Okay? Thank you, Miss Pat, for sprinkling us out. I appreciate you. You're going to make the pumpkin pie. Oh, good, good. I'm so glad. You're just going to take this and you're going to brush it around, and you can see that it's taking on that baked look already, right? So this is still a little bit damp. Let me take a paper towel and dry out these little crimped edges. You would want to be a little bit patient and let this dry a little bit more, probably, around the edges. But the cool thing about this ink is that it's water soluble. And so, sorry about that, I grabbed the cord. Good morning, Kathy. It's water soluble, so if you get it too dark in one area and you don't like it, just smooth it out with like a baby wipe or a damp paper towel. But I love the shading look that this will give you. Do you see how it's picking up? There we go, it's a little bit better lighting. It's picking up the highlights of that crust, and it's giving the darker edges, and then it's giving the darkness to the raised areas of that little pie. It's so perfect for what we want. You could probably even skip the coffee grounds if you really want to, but I like adding the coffee grounds because you get the speckles of cinnamon on it. Okay, all right, which also make it look real. Now you're going to want to make sure that you take your little makeup brush. You could even use like a Q-tip and get this same look. It might just take you a little bit longer because it's smaller. But to get down in these little diamond shaped cutouts, I'm just going to take that little makeup brush and I'm just going to go right down in there. And that's also going to make the edges of those diamonds be a little bit darker. Did you see what we did to that? We took it from a bright white and we turned it to this. There we go. The lighting's a little bit better from this direction. Just with some coffee grunge and this distress ink. Now, if you want to be done with it, you could be done with it right there, and those would look darling. Let me show you. Let's do a comparison. If you want to sprinkle it with a little bit of cinnamon, that would be, let's see here. Okay. Well, my gracious. Sorry about that. I knew that was going to happen at some point. Oh, goodness. Hang on just a second. I'm so sorry. They're very realistic. Yes. Oh, goodness. Hang on here. Oh, my gracious. Let me fix y'all. Hold your eyeballs. Hold your eyeballs. This way, this way. There we go. Now I can tilt. Can't tilt y'all that way. Oh, hang on. This is a different tripod than what I normally use, and now you know why I don't typically use this one. Because of this very reason. It's a little wobbly, but it's not as sturdy. My other one usually gets like hooked onto like a steady surface. This one, not so much. Okay. That's right. You got to trust the process. Trust the process when you're adding the color, for sure. This is a workout, getting this camera fixed. There we go. Oh, hopefully I didn't scare y'all too bad. I scared myself. My microphone is like twisted. The cord is. That's, I think, part of the problem. But I will say, if you add like a Coffee Podge or Mod Podge, probably the Mod Podge more likely, you will get a little bit of a sheen to it. So this was one that I tested out last year. I think I just put straight Mod Podge on this one and then sprinkled it with cinnamon, okay? And it gave me a sheen that I wasn't crazy about, okay? Get your seatbelt on. There you go, Sherry. The color of the grunge. Yes, the coloration of the coffee grunge really does lend itself really well to these baked, these fake bakes. So what I'm going to show, I'm going to just experiment with a little bit more of this. I'm going to add a little bit more of this coffee grounds to the top, and it will redistribute a little bit of that ink, especially depending on how wet you get it. Because I said, remember, that ink is water soluble, so it's going to move it around a little bit. But it's also going to make it a little bit darker, and I like that. So I'm going to give it that, and then I'm going to go over it again with that same little ink brush. And I'll show you a couple of these other cutout shapes here in just a minute. Where'd my dryer go? I have not used the fall shape cutouts yet. We'll try a pumpkin one or an acorn. But each time you add that, it gets a little bit darker in color and a little bit more believable. So once I dry this, I'm going to go right back over it with a little bit of that ink just once again. And it just adds the layers of color. And whenever you get it the way you like it, then you can stop, okay? But just keep layering on that different technique between the coffee grunge and the distress ink. And you'll eventually you'll know when you get it the way you want it. And then you're good to go. If you want to dust it with some cinnamon, you could totally do that. Or you could, if you wanted to add the coffee, a little bit of the coffee podge, and sprinkle a little bit of diamond dust so that it looks like you've sprinkled on a little bit of sugar onto it. That's a great idea as well. The other thing about these little makeup brushes that I like is that it helps smooth the color out so that it doesn't look super blotchy. It helps it make it look a little bit more realistic because you don't have any harsh lines and you know, splotches that don't look real. It just gives you a really good smooth color. If you apply it with something like this, it helps give you that smooth color. Now, if it's not doing what you want it to do, if it's being a little bit stubborn, if you're getting swish marks or blotchiness, step away a little bit and let it dry, okay? That would be my tip. Step away and let it dry, okay? And that's all I'm going to do with that one. I'm going to let it dry, and then once it dries, I'll look at it again, and if I feel like it's not quite dark enough, I'll just take a little bit of this and just touch it in some areas and give it some darker spots to make it look the way I want it to. There you go. Okay. Now this one was dry, and it's a lot easier to apply that to. If you're applying it to one where your faux dough is still wet, then you're not going to get quite as much. It's going to be a little trickier to use, is what I should say. Okay. All right. These are so cute that you can make a batch of these and sell them in little bundles if you do craft shows or, you know, make and resell things. They are super easy to make, and you can make a batch of them really easily. So let's see. That's what it looks like with the plain dough. This one looks like after we add the technique to it. This is the same technique. I had a little bit more cinnamon in my mixture, and you can see the little specks of cinnamon on there. Yes, you could make some darling little embellishments, some little berries or whatnot to use to style them with. You definitely could. That would be a really cute idea. I like to put them in one of these little faux little mini cake plates. I think I grabbed this one at Target. During spring, I think last year or year before, I don't even remember. But I just repainted it with some black chalk paint, added some twine to it, and I put some in there. I also put some in a little wooden dough bowl. They look cute styled with that. They look cute paired right along with some of your other fake bakes if you've been making anything. Now this is a little apple pie that I did the same technique with. I cut out the little lattice shapes, and made the crust, but these inside are the same little diced apples. I made them a little bit larger using those little glass puff sponges. And I did top this one with some coffee podge. That kind of helps seal in the dough. There are a couple of areas where it's cracked, but it's a lot easier and user-friendly and lasts a little bit longer than if you were using the air dry clay on this, okay? This is Model Magic for this one. Okay, real quick, let's use one of these fall cutouts. Let's use this little pumpkin one. Okay, so we're gonna cut it with one side. Good morning, how are ya, Miss Pam? You like them? Good, good. And hopefully I was able to give you a little bit more of an idea on how to do these. The first video that I did on these was just a disaster. An absolute disaster. So that's why I was like, oh, we're not doing that one again. I can't stand to show a video where it was just a complete disaster. So everybody's been asking on how to make these, and I thought, you know what, let's just redo. Okay, now this one came off. I'm just going to peel this away, and let's find my little skewer stick. I'm going to pull up those little cutout pieces that need to come out on the pumpkin. It has little slits. Okay. We'll see how user-friendly this one is. Now this one came in a little fall set. I think it has, well, it has this pumpkin, it has an acorn, and there was another shape to it. I don't remember what it was, and I didn't have it with my bundle of cutouts, so I don't know where it went to. But anyway, and sometimes those little cutout pieces get stuck. Just take your skewer stick and pull them out, and then that way you can reuse those. I will say I feel like these cut out really small. So we're going to take and we're going to pull these apart a little, or not pull them apart, but stretch them just a little bit. Okay, this one's going to go over here. The way the stem has a little bit of a curve to it, so you got to make sure that you put it on the right side there. You love the shape on this one. We'll see how it turns out. I'm always skeptical until I see it. Stretch it a little bit. Want to make sure that it covers the edges. Okay, now here's our little apple pieces. Let's put the apple pieces over here. If you overfill these with the apples, they can be a little problematic. I will say that. Let's see here. I want to make sure that I have enough in there, but enough room for the edges to crimp together. Okay, I think that, hold on, there we go. I think that'll do. And like I said, if it messes up, just take it apart and redo it. So the one that's filled, I'm going to leave it on the bottom. I'm going to take this other one and fold it, fold it over. Okay, hang on. Well, that's already sticking. That's okay, we're just going to go with it. And then I'm going to crimp it together really well. And you can see the excess that's squeezing out. That's okay. And I'm going to peel that excess right off, okay? And we'll see what this one looks like. Let's see, I can't reach down in there between the little handles. Pull that off. Sometimes that's easier said than done there. Okay, let's pull it apart and see what we got. Good morning, Desiree. How are you? Oh, that turned out pretty cute. Okay, hang on. The stem didn't quite take on the shape that I thought it would, but maybe I pulled too much of that off. I bet I did. Okay. Oh, look at that one, how well that just folded right out of there. That's cute. That's really cute. Now you can see around the bottom, I need to kind of trim it up just a little bit. And then those rough edges, all I'm going to do is just take my finger and just smooth those down. And I'm going to give this a little bit more of a stem shape if I can. There we go. Maybe. But you get the idea. Just fuss with the edges a little bit, soften them up. And then lay this on your wax paper to dry. And then once it's dry, you can do the coloring to it. How cute is that? Those are so cute. And then there's an acorn. I've never done the acorn. So I'm going to try the acorn, I believe. Now the little pumpkin is a lot like the shape that we did this morning. It's a little bit bigger. You know, I think you could leave this one out all year long, and you know, not very many people are going to realize that's really a pumpkin. So you could probably get away with it. But like I said, once you have these out and this is drying, if you had multiples of these, you don't want to let them touch each other. So you don't want to style them. You don't want to stack them and style them until they are completely dry, because if wet dough touches another piece of wet dough, it's like a magnet. It sticks. And sometimes you can get it apart, but most of the time it wants to just like pull, you know, both sides pull, and it gets all distorted in the shape. So, yeah, this one, the little slits didn't quite open. So, you know, sometimes you'll find that one side looks better than the other. So, you know, just stick with the side that looks prettier when you go to display it. You can definitely flip them over, Lisa. Flip them over, let them dry for a few hours, and then come back and then flip it over, you know, occasionally. I would say give them at least a full day, sometimes even longer, to really dry before you would start adding your color to it. And then once you start adding the coffee grunge and the color to it, of course, you're going to kind of wetten it again. So I still wouldn't stick them together until even your coloring is dry. Okay. I would not speed dry them. I would not put these in the oven. I wouldn't add heat to them to speed the drying, because anytime you add the heat to it, you run the risk of adding the cracks and it crumbling. So air drying is really the way to go. It's really the way to go. Just be patient and air dry. You like the pumpkin? Good morning, Jessica. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope this helped you out. And we have another crafter coming up live over in the Craft on the Clock group right now and all day long. And tomorrow is our book theme day. So we're crafting all day long with books. So check us out on Facebook, Craft Round the Clock. If you request to join, be sure that you answer all the questions so that we can get you approved much faster. Sometimes we don't even approve people who don't answer all the joining questions. So it's just to help us out, to make sure that you're not a spammer or a troll. We like to keep that group as safe as we can. So do that if you want to join us, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye, y'all. Have a wonderful day.